Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. So today I am here with the lovely Marlene. Now Marlene is actually now a really great friend of mine, but she originally started as a client. So she lives about an hour away from me in Miami. And this is the first time that we've actually done a proper workout together. Granted, we did one, where were we? Vegas. We did a quick photo shoot pump up workout together, which
really quick,
very quick. And she's like, "What? We're done." So I'm actually going to be doing one of her programs today. So it is a compromised full body session that we're going to take you guys through. I guess the plan is to show you some different techniques. I'm going to teach you some training cues. It's actually great that I have Marlene here because I can kind of show you things and talk at the same time rather than me trying to do it. So do you want to go through maybe some of the exercises that we're going to do today?
Yeah. We're going to train glutes. Again, this is like she said, it's based on what I'm trying to focus on. So it's lower body and a little bit of upper body. Mm-hmm. So lower body would be my hamstrings, glutes, and quads. Yep. A little bit focused on glutes. And upper body would be shoulders and a little bit of back.
Yeah, and then we've got some abs at the end too.
As well, yes.
So I think we've got 4 lower body and then two upper body and then abs. Yeah. Yes. So that's the workout. We'll put the exact program, I guess, in the description below, but I think we should go get started. It's really busy here today, so we may be making compromises left, right, and center, but we'll do it our best. So we're going to start with our glutes. Obviously, this is the most important muscle group for us. So we want to tackle that exercise first because we're feeling fresh. And if I'm being perfectly honest, I think I had about 5 cocktails last night. So I'm going to fade really fast. So we're starting here with our hip thrusts. We're doing 10 to 12 reps, so working in that hypertrophy rep range. Marlene's just got a standard hip thrust. I might show a couple of different variations that you can do just to keep your training sessions interesting. And it's, again, just a reminder, the variations that I show you aren't special, they're not unique, they're not superior than a regular hip thrust. It is literally just a different training intensity technique that you can use to basically achieve the same outcome. And in previous videos, you know that I've talked about different rep ranges. You can train low rep ranges with heavy loads, high rep ranges with light loads. It doesn't matter. The whole point is getting close to failure. So whatever your preference.
Is this doable for short people?
Yes. And I would put your hands on your hips to give you some stability. Yep. Yeah. Second. Cool. How's that weight? Good.
Heavy.
So again, this is actually a really good thing to discuss. So if you're training at different gyms, so Marlene doesn't normally train here. So, you know, when you're loading weight, I think it's really important to make sure that you take your time, start light if you need to. I know I've gotten on some machines, like a hack squat machine once, and I put my 45-pound plates on and I went down and I'm like, I am not coming back up. And normally I would use like 2 plates and a couple of 25s. So start light and then think about how it feels, and that's really the only thing that you've got going for you. So you have to be present, get in your mind, get that connection and decide whether or not this is an equivalent weight to what you would previously do. So that's where that training RPE or training RIR comes in handy. You have to be able to consider how you're feeling and the intensity of the work so that you can compare when you go from one gym to another.
So a question, because I know I've always had this question, and I'm pretty sure people might have this as well. When you start, you always want to get your RPE high. But what happens if by the 3rd week of the program, you can't do more of that?
That's okay. Maintain. Like the whole point, like for muscle growth to take place, is fatiguing the muscle. So you may find that 3 or 4 weeks into your 6-week mesocycle, you're consistently hitting an RPE 8 or a 9. Like, you cannot really go any further unless you go to failure and then you're really uncomfortable. It's not necessarily a bad thing that you're progressively going to become it's progressively going to get harder as you become more advanced to keep making increases in weight. Right? It's just the natural trajectory. It's like you have diminishing returns the longer you've been training. So I don't think you should have the expectation that you should be able to keep going up forever and ever and indefinitely. Yeah. Like I haven't gone up in weight for years, but I also know that if I don't really push it, I'm probably not going to be able to get any additional muscle growth.
Because this is the thing, when I start a new program, I always think of starting the first week with a low rep range that it's not pushing me to my hardest, because I'm just saying I'm not going to be able to add more weight in my next weeks. So that's when I'm like, how much should I add on the first week of training?
No, get in there and put in the weight that is intended to hit that RPE. Yeah.
So I've been cheating, guys.
Okay, so we've just discovered that Marlene doesn't do 6 sets.
No, I do.
Okay, jump out, let me do a warm up. Okay. I have done 1 warm-up set and now I'm moving straight into my first working set. I'm feeling pretty good, to be honest. We've been walking around and doing a lot all morning. So 50% to 60% can be really your first warm-up set. And then if you're planning on doing a second warm-up set, you'll be at about 80% of your intended working set weight, and then you can jump straight in. So I'm gonna try this. So I've got 275, I think, with the, I guess, weight of the machine, which is 45 pounds. So yeah, 10 reps, 12 reps, we'll see. Good. Let's just take off the 25. Yeah. No. I think you can do this.
What?
Babe,
we're jumping from 70 to 90?
That looks so easy. You weren't even grimacing. Look, if you get to 8 and you're like, Holly, my butt cheeks are about to explode, don't do any more.
Okay.
Don't need any injuries today.
And just to reference, because when I started, I had no idea how to breathe during exercises. So
you've come a long way.
I had no idea when you expel the air versus when you inhale the air. And that's the same thing with squats, right? When you're trying to, like, you breathe in when you're up and then you hold it when you're down.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, you got to create that force.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. Hips up. Hands here. Hey, you can do this. We got it. Come on. Good. Drive it up. 2, 3. Good. Come on. Oh, nice. Halfway. Come on. 6, 7. Good. Come on. 8. Drive it. Come on. That's 10. 11. Last one. I got you. Yep. Look at that.
Oh my God. This is the first week.
There we go. That's a set. Good job.
Holly Baxter.
I need a drink. Do you want to try it? Oh, so this is a new flavor, guys. Courtesy of Sam. Thank you. I don't normally do caffeine in the morning, honestly. It sounds weird, right? You're like, Holly, don't you drink coffee? My taste has gone really weird. I haven't had coffee in months. And I don't really do very well with too much caffeine in the morning. It makes me feel sick and nauseous. So I've never really been somebody to use a pre-workout. I don't like beta-alanine. I hate the tingly feeling. So I usually just feel pretty good when I train without anything, just fluid. I haven't tried this yet. So here we go. You said it was your favorite? It's pretty good now. This is the best ever. Ooh, you wanna try it? It's definitely sour. It's like sour rainbow.
Oh yeah.
I like it. What was that?
The tartiness. You know? So for example, the second set, I would record it as my 90 pounds. And then from there, keep on increasing?
You can try. The goal is to lift as much weight based on the intended RPE for that session. So if your session is set at an RPE 8, your first set, you should be loading to what you think is going to feel subjectively like an 8. So In that first set that you did, where you
70.
you had the 20, the 50, 45 and the 25.
Yeah.
I could see that looks way too easy for you.
Okay.
So I wouldn't count that as a working set.
Okay.
Because it was probably an RPE 5. So I would say that last set that you just did looked way better. That was at the intensity that I think is going to get you lifting closer to failure.
Okay.
I think you'll get better results if you do that.
The thing is that how do you know, not how do you know, but what's the perimeter of knowing that I'm gonna reach my sets with that same weight?
You don't.
Okay.
You try. Like you go into the gym with the intention that, okay, I'm going to at least see if I can match what I did last week. And, you know, once you get, like I might get to this set here and go, I don't think I can go up anymore. So I won't.
Okay.
And then next week when I come back in, I'll start with 3 because I know I can do it. And if it feels really uncomfortable, maybe I've had a bad night's sleep or I'm stressed, I might end up pulling off a little bit of weight. But the intention is first set, go in as hard as you can. Okay. And every set should be like that. And you might not be able to make increases every single week, but you try. That's the matter. And you don't back off in week 1 of your training program of a 6-week block just because you're worried that you're not going to be able to have increases every single week. Okay. No, I'd rather it be 85,000 pounds of volume like you're currently doing. And if you maintain that for 6 weeks, but you can honestly say that is at an RPE 8, I'm working really hard, that's what you can do. Because you can't always continue to make strength gains. That might happen as you've added more muscle or you do more strength specific movements. But yeah, I think that weight looks good for you.
Okay. I think this is key points when you're starting into weights because it happened to me when I started going in and not knowing how much weight should I add or how I add the weight. So amazing what she just said. If you can tell when she's breathing in and breathing out, those are amazing cues, like I said, for a newbie.
Yeah. Knowing when to breathe.
Yeah.
God, I would hate to see like if you tried to do a squat and you were trying to inhale on the concentric phase.
That's what I did. And I was like, why is this not feeling as it should? Because you had no idea how to breathe.
Oh, awesome. 6 squeeze. 8 good, 4 to go, come on. 10, 11, 12, good. Push forwards, drop. Good work. Something that's interesting. So I haven't tracked anything for a long time, but here's why I'm not tracking my training volume at the moment, or I haven't been consistent with the training program for a little while. Number one, my schedule right now is insane. So I'm lucky if I can go to the gym, and I'm not exaggerating when I say like I have 12 hours just of coaching some days, and then I've got meetings in there, and I've got all of the other business stuff that people do, and then personal life stuff on top of that. So I'm fortunate and grateful if I can get into the gym 3 times a week. So that's one part. But I also don't have a specific hard goal. I'm not trying to grow anything else. If I maintain my physique, I'm stoked. So because of that, I don't need to be as disciplined as somebody like Miles, who is really proactively now trying to put on some muscle. She's just done a really good cut, did a great photo shoot out in Vegas. She's done one here in Miami as well. And now we're trying to like slowly reverse her back out. And for her to get her metabolism up, the only way that she can do that is by adding more muscle. So we've taken her training, which was 4 days a week with lots of cardio, which was effective for her fat loss phase. We've now replaced 2 of those cardio days with resistance training again. So we're trying to facilitate muscle growth in that way, whereas the cardio, while she was cutting, wasn't really facilitating any muscle growth. Now we've switched goals. So you're doing 6 days of training, maybe consolidated into 5. Is that what we're going to try and do? Or 6?
Yeah, with two full body, adequate to my.
Yeah. So you hear me say, like, are you tracking your volume? So because of her specific goals, she's putting down everything. I'm a little bit less. My goals are different, so I don't need to.
Well, she's maintaining.
Yeah.
I'm trying to build, so I need to keep a record of what I'm doing in order so I can build.
Yeah, otherwise you just don't know.
Yeah.
You could be coming in some weeks and training 50% of the volume or the load that you were previously doing, and then you're not hitting your minimum weekly set numbers for the muscle groups that you care about. You could be regressing because you've got a different program every other day. You know, I used to do that when I first started, and it was why I didn't make progress for like the first 5 years of me being in a gym pretty consistently. So I realized I was just making up sessions, but you know, I never had anything that was consistent enough to allow me to actually make progress. So if you aren't following a program, like a 6-week mesocycle, and it's probably going to be the same exercises for 6 weeks straight. You know, and there's actually no reason why you can't do the same program over and over and over again, provided you are progressively seeing some improvements in the volume. And you should do that because your rate of perceived exertion, as you adapt to that new stimulus, you should eventually be able to handle more load. So yeah.
It's amazing how training with someone that actually knows, you know, you automatically push harder than when you're by yourself.
Yeah, I think there's benefits to having a training buddy.
Absolutely. Or an actual trainer.
Yes, that too.
95? Good Lord. I'm kidding.
Don't sell yourself short. Okay, so I wanted to recap something really quick because I was just talking with Miles, and one of the things that we discovered was that she is achieving with something like a hip thrust. So she uses 90 pounds and she was doing 6 sets to equate like 540 pounds of volume. And I said to her, well, is each of those individual sets that you're doing with 90 pounds getting you to an RPE 8 or 9? And she said, no, not necessarily, but that's why I was trying to do more volume. So I think it's really important to know that volume isn't everything. You can certainly have junk volume. What would be more effective for Marlene would be to do 3 sets with 180 pounds, and then those 3 sets are actually getting her to the RPE that are going to effectively elicit a muscle synthetic response. So she's now still doing 540 pounds, she's only doing 3 sets, but now that weight is actually challenging her and is going to help her achieve better muscle growth. So there's a lot of studies that will, you know, throw around, oh, were they volume equated? I don't care. You can do equal volume, but it doesn't necessarily mean that those people are working close to failure, and in which case you weren't going to get the maximum, you know, muscle synthetic response. So have a look at your individual loads that you're selecting, guys, and make sure that you are training close to failure, because the last thing you want to do is you're coming into the gym, spending all this time, and you're doing 4 or 5 or 6 sets, but none of those sets are really challenging you, but you're doing the volume. It's not necessarily going to help you in your long-term goals for muscle growth. Next exercise, RDLs. Marlene's program had her doing dumbbells, and that's because she's got access to that at her home gym. But there's so many people in the gym today that we can't get the dumbbells that we need to lift. So we're going to do an alternative with a barbell, and honestly, there's not really a whole lot of difference. What you probably will notice is that when you're training with a barbell, you can actually load up and go heavier because it's a fixed movement pattern. Whereas with dumbbells, you know, you've got a little bit more instability because you've got the weight unevenly loaded. So she's going to be able to go heavier today because she's got her barbell. So yes, you're not doing yourself a disservice by changing out today. It's just you can't have the OCD in this gym that you would like. See, we're changing minds.
This is how your mind cheats on you. Well, for someone that sometimes.
No, I get why you did that. That to me, exactly how you work your mentality. That's very logical, but it's not that's conventional wisdom, but it's not necessarily what we need to do for muscle growth. So warm up here. Let's go.
Okay. 7. Call you Baxter. Let me get my belt.
So if you stop shy of failure, a partially fatigued motor unit is like starting to turn black. So let's say you do a certain number of reps, but you only reach this point.
Right.
During your rest, you recover back to this point, and then when you do your next set, let's say you fatigue maybe to this point or this point.
Okay.
Well, if you train all the way to failure, all of them are fatigued, all of them are activated. So
Right.
if you're doing the volume game, you're kind of going
Just halfway.
here and back, here and back, here and back.
Oh my God, I've been enlightened.
Does that make sense? Whereas,
Eureka moment right now.
so in theory, that might
Wow.
mean that some of the motor units were never actually activated because you kept stopping short. Now, you still accumulated that volume, right?
Wow.
But it wasn't the most effective as it could be because going all the way here is like...
So you can you go in and then you go back. You go in and then you go back.
So it's like...
and you never reach that.
You could,
Yeah,
you could
failure,
picture
yeah.
filling up a cup and then you're draining it. It
Yeah.
never reaches the top.
Right.
You know what I mean? So that's how I kind of think about it. I showed you the figure
I think it's a great
Oh, the book.
analogy.
from chapter 7.
Okay, so this is the book. We need to get you the book.
Yeah, that's from chapter 7 in College
Wow.
Club.
Little shameless plug there. Guys, since you're just looking at one of the pages out of our book, I will obviously have it on screen for you. Go and get a copy. I guess we've tried to take what's usually pretty complex science and make it as easy to understand for the everyday person as we possibly can. So if you haven't got a copy of the Complete Exercise Guide to Muscle Hypertrophy, go and get yourself one. The links are in the description. So when you start, you're kind of sitting down like you're here.
Yeah.
I would actually much rather you, instead of being in this position to start, I would rather you be over the bar,
Over.
with your lats suppressed. So you're actually tensing your glutes.
Okay.
So rather than sitting here,
I thought I should be.
Over four.
I thought I was going to be in a straight line.
No.
Like I should start in the straight line.
I need your core engaged
Yeah.
and your lats on. So I'll cue
Okay.
you. And let's do two, rather than doing mixed grip, I want you to do double overhand. Yep.
What's the double overhand?
What?
This?
Yeah, so both hands in the same position. Yep.
Yeah. You think that's better?
Absolutely. Yeah, mixed grip is only if you're not using wraps.
Oh.
Yeah. Well, okay, so let's start. Come up a bit, come up, come up, come up. Bring the bar in closer to you. Lift your butt up higher. Eyes forwards. Okay, that's your starting position, but I want you to pull your lats back. Yep, start from there. Yep, press through. Okay, now we're just doing the RDL. Okay. Yes, good. Nice and slow on the way down. 3. Good. 4. 5, easy, Mouse. Good. 6, hips back, long hammies. Good. 10, squeeze. Awesome. Yep. You're done. Yeah, that's really good. How's your back feel?
Good.
Yep.
That's not RPD or 8.
It wasn't an 8?
No. I
Too
think
easy,
this
too
was
easy?
like 7, 6, 7.
Okay, all right, that's good to know. We'll still use that as a warm-up set. We'll just
Okay.
do, so another great tip, if you misload your first set, so like Marlene just said to me, that was not quite an 8. So you can, if you're prescribed 8 reps, you can go to 12 or 15 if you want to make that set an effective set, rather than just stopping short at your set of 8, not really getting to your appropriate RPE, and then you'd have to add another set if you really wanted to have 3 effective working sets.
Right. Which
So-
I've done that in the past because
Yep.
it's reloading, taking more time.
Yeah, just do more
Go back
reps.
and forth, exactly. So you spend more time at the gym just trying to figure out what's the actual
So,
weight.
like using the image that we just put up on the screen for you before with showing how a muscle fatigues across a set, it would be the same thing. So by the time she got to 8 reps here, let's say that was her prescribed rep range, only half of those muscles are in a fatigue state. She just keeps going. She goes through to 12, up, I'm still not really there yet. She can keep going. And then we know that that first set was effective. And then you'd go into your training program. Even though you had 8 reps, you might scribble that out, put down 15, put the weight, that's still fine. So you'll notice that Marlene is not quite going all the way down to the ground. Her way is not better than my way. I have very flexible hamstrings. She does too, but I'm just going a little bit further. And I think it's really important to recognize that one is not better than the other. So for me, I stop and almost pause a little bit between each of my reps. And it just means that I'm making it harder for myself which means that I won't have to do as many reps to get to failure, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. If I'd loaded the barbell the same for me, and I chose to do the reps the way that Marlene is doing them, I'd probably do 3 or 4 more reps. Or if I wanted to stick to a really specific rep range, then I'd end up having to take the weight up because it's easier. And again, one is not better than the other. It is just, how do you get to fatigue? You can do that a lot of ways. The next exercise that we're going to do is a straddle squat. So Marlene, do you want to show and maybe talk through the variation that you're doing? And then I'll go through and give some additional variations and maybe why we're doing them.
Absolutely.
Cool, all right.
So look at the difference in weights. Have a 55 versus an 80. So one of the variations that I've learned is a little more glute focused and starting the movement as an RDL and then lowering into a squat. So,
and this is Mark Carroll's, one of his, yeah?
Yeah, exactly. I got it from him.
Friends.
A shout out to the guy.
Yeah.
So what I do is I lean in as an RDL and then squat down.
Yep.
And then come back up.
Hinge. Squat, yeah. Nice.
And then come back up instead of just making it a full squat on.
And when you're hinging, so do you want to explain what that's targeting?
That when you hinge, it's targeting the glutes.
And hamstrings as well.
Exactly.
Yep. And then
so I hinge and you feel the stretch right here.
Yep.
So
and are you bracing your core when you go down?
Yep. All the way, yeah, always. And then come back up.
Cool. Beautiful. So, some alternatives, since I've got my little chair here. You can also do this, so that's one way that you could do it. You can also very easily, and again, this is just for exercise variation. Again, one's not better than the other. You could do for your first rep, the hinge, and then come back up, and then you can go into a squat.
Like this. Let me do the demo. So this is what Holly's talking about. You can go like first this, come back up,
and then do a squat. Yep. So it's effectively doing the same thing. It's just, if you're bored of what you're doing, you can try it both ways.
Yep, there you go. Cool. Better have a big breakfast after this.
I know, we better. Breakfast burger. We'll do the double smash.
The double smash burger.
Bacon and eggs.
I don't think I can fit that much fat into my macros this week. But
hey, look, I got the extra lean beef. We got fat-free cheese.
The 96.4?
Yeah, the 96.4, girl. Kind of a fat-free sliced cheese. Yum, yum.
Only someone would know what 96.4 is on the beef.
We know. We didn't have to say what it was. We know.
We know. It's like 96.4. You got it, girl.
You got it, girl. All right, I'm using wraps, not in the traditional way. My grip strength's obviously going to be the limiting factor here, so I'm just using this as some grip. So they go underneath, as opposed to you'd normally wrap them around. Obviously, that's not going to happen. You could also use chalk too. So I'm going to give miles away a go. You know, when your hair's too long and it gets stuck under your armpits.
No bueno.
Okay, so that was a hinge.
Yeah, that was a complete hinge.
Hinge, squat. Okay.
Do you feel it, Holly?
Yep. Yep, so it's hamstrings, glutes on the way down.
Yeah.
And then from here, now I can feel it shift into my quads. Hinge, squat. You notice I just dropped it. Regripped. And how many reps did you do? 10? 12? Whew. Whew. Yep. So I can feel that a little bit in my lower back. And I don't think that would usually happen. It's just that we've just done really heavy RDLs,
right?
Like at an RPE9, and I also have not trained consistently for like the last month. So I just expect at the moment that I'm going to be really sore pretty soon after I train. However, if I stick at it, I know next week I'll get a little less sore, as my muscle is adapting to that stimulus again. So yeah, I think I will probably do just the squat version for the next set, because the hinge does load my back a little bit, and it's not conditioned at the moment because of that inconsistency. So by me just doing the squat variation, the weight is loaded a lot more centrally and there's less spinal tension. It's not loading up my lower back. So I'll just do the squat for the next one. So we're just gonna do, both of us are feeling a little bit loaded in our lower back from our last heavy set of RDLs, and that's not, it's not like, oh, we did those sets wrong or anything. That's just your muscle responding to what you just did. So to reduce that lower back load right now, and because it's also a new exercise for me, this one, we're going to just do the squat version. So a true straddle squat, not a straddle hinge squat. Sorry, that's what Marlene's doing now. So that's loading up her quads a lot more, keeping it in the glutes. We're just eliminating that RDL hinge, which is what effectively loads the back a little bit more. Nice. You're going to keep going until you get to 2 reps away from wanting to stop. What are you up to? 12. 13, let's increase the tempo.
You want me to stay here?
Faster, no, let's move faster, yeah.
No.
14, come on. 15, 16, good, come on. 17, use those quads, push your heels, squeeze. Come on. 5, 4, 3, 2, yeah, good job.
That's cardio included there.
Up next, we are doing a leg press. Now, this is the specific machine that Marlene wants to use because it's the one that she has in her gym. She's used to lifting on it. So we use, I think I actually trained this yesterday, so I'm going to do a single leg. But I do want to come back around and just kind of point out a few key things for posture to actually get the most out of this movement. So I'm just going to let Marlene do a warm-up set here of like 5 to 8 reps. And again, if this is your compound lift and it's your first exercise, got all these technical difficulties with mics and stuff.
There we go, thank you, Holly.
You would want to make sure that you do 2 or 3 warm-up sets before you get to the working load. You will see people also do their warm-up by walking on the treadmill. They might do a light jog, they might do some mobility work. All of those things are perfectly reasonable for a warm-up, but you can also warm up doing the movement that you're about to do, just using an appropriate load. And again, the whole point of the warm-up is to increase your body and your muscles and your core temperature, basically. It'll just help, tearing muscles and soft tissues. So how is that weight?
Good, but we can increase.
Yeah?
Yeah, cool. For a 12 rep, yeah.
Yep. So,
do you want to jump in? Or?
No, I'll keep talking. You can wait there.
Warm up again?
Yeah, if you want to do your second warm-up set. So Marlene is really, really little. She's like
4'11".
She's 4'11". I always assume that she's, is anyone, okay, tall girls out there, you've got your friends and you just assume that you're all the same height.
Yeah.
I think that Marlene's my height. She's not. So she's 4'11". I'm 6'8" and a half. 6'8". I'm 5'8" and a half. Can you imagine?
You'd be like, yo.
So you really have to be mindful with the setup of the machines. And honestly, there are some machines that it just isn't a good fit for your mechanics. And I think having a good awareness of where things should be applying tension, and then also making sure that you've got your levers in the right spots, all so important. So for this exercise, you want to make sure that you are effectively loading your quads and your glutes, and that you're taking it through the full range of motion. So in one of my other videos, which you may have seen, I talked about making sure that that seat is going to be as close to the plate as you can to make sure that you are at parallel. This is the position that you want to be getting to, whether you're doing a prone leg press, a vertical leg press, a machine plate loaded leg press, it doesn't matter. You want to get to full range of motion. So she's got it set on, she being Marlene, has it set on the lowest setting, which is actually what I have it on too. I want to make sure I'm getting low. Okay. However, the seat angle as well is really important. How did that feel for you?
Good, because my back did not came out of touching the seat.
Okay.
Like
it was feel like you were straining your back or anything?
Yeah,
like
not
that?
at all.
Okay, yeah, so some people here, if you are shorter femored, so if you've got a short femur length, You may actually like to have this in the lower position where it allows you to be, if you're thinking about your back mechanics, short femurs, those people tend to squat more upright, whereas if you've got long femurs, you tend to be in a more bent over forward position like this. So again, depending on your mechanics, hopefully you've got a leg press that can adjust the seat, the back of the seat.
Not all of them do.
Not all of them do. And again, it's a fault of machines. So what I would do, if you are somebody that doesn't have the ability to move this up and down like this one, I've got little wedges that I carry around in my bag, and I started using them on the seated leg curl for my hamstrings, because that machine doesn't allow me to get into a lengthened position. It just loads my lower back. So you put a little wedge down the back here of the seat and it will propel you forwards. That's only if you are somebody that needs to be in a more forward position because you squat like this, which is how I do. But some people, upright, short femurs, they just sit down and stand up. So, yeah.
Do you want to demonstrate how my body would look on a different position?
Yeah, so for an upright squatter, short femurs, they might use one of these settings. Yep. Here we go. Which is probably going to feel really weird for her, but yeah, if we look at her side on, she's not parallel in that position. She's still got an angle here. So when she comes all the way down, let it stop. So she's not a parallel. You can see her hip, the angle of her femur is still like this. She needs to be lower, so that's why the seat putting her forward, probably there. Yep, do a rep. And then come down and pause. So now you can see she's actually in like the angle of her femur. She's getting a nice right angle there. I hope that makes sense. I'm terrible at explaining mechanics. It makes sense to me. But she's in a good spot right here. There we go. Okay. Do you want to do an actual set now?
Okay, yeah.
What weight do you want?
I think that one, that's 30 plus 15, right?
Yep.
Which is 145?
Yep. I feel like I'm going to do you a favor.
Yeah.
I'm going to put it on 150. All right, let's go. First rep's going to suck. Big brace, drive, keep the core strong. All the way in, all the way in, all the way in. Come lower, come lower. Yep. Good. So now that is effectively loading her glutes and her quads. Nice. See, that's still too light. As she's laughing. If you were struggling, you wouldn't be laughing.
Not laughing because it's not light.
I think you're confused.
It's a good range.
You're confused. Here you go, babe. So I look like a moron doing this because this is what I've got to do, but this is also my squat position. I've got such long femurs that I got to lean forwards to clear them out of the way. So this is good for me. It's supporting my back. It's right where it needs to be, but it means that it's hard to get in because I got to get rid of these big things. I'm going to do single legs today because I did this exercise yesterday. So I'm just going to try this weight as a warm-up. So again, it's probably 20 pounds under what I think I'd do for a working set. Again, all the way in, see that nice right angle here? And my back is supported. Like, this feels so good. You can really drive out. Ooh, yeah, feel the burn. So for a single leg exercise like this, I'd probably just do 3 reps per side as opposed to 5. 1.
She has to grab her foot and be
like a pretzel.
Just grabbing it, thinking like,
Look at the difference in height though. I mean, I seriously, when I think of Marlene, I assume that she's my height. No. I'm like, yeah, my friend, we're the same. Oh, I love it.
Okay, so.
All right, let's do it.
195.
You've got this. You can do this. First rep's gonna suck. Okay. Drive out. Brace. Make sure your feet are even. Are your feet even?
No.
Okay, fix those toes. There you go. Okay, here we go. Core on. Good. Excellent. Good. Nice. Come on. Good. Keep those heels flat on the plate. Good. See, look at that face. That is a face of hard work right there. Come on, come on. Good. Nice. 12 reps?
Yeah.
Good job. See? You were going to do 140?
Push yourself.
All right, I think this will be a working set weight.
So save me, so save me. I want to be free. So save me, so save me. I want to be free. So save me, so save me.
Okay, despite the grimacing, that wasn't that hard. One of the things that Marlene actually asked me, which was a great question, and she said, oh, well, how come you are dropping your leg down instead of just resting it on the plate? Fantastic question. You can, but by having that foot like rested, and I guess we'd call this a B stance or a staggered stance, single leg split squat. There's nothing wrong with this, but it is giving me more leverage. It is helping me with my strength. Like this leg is supporting that one. So if you choose a weight and you do it as a B stance, let's say you do 12 reps, that's what I'm doing with this. If I take my foot off, it is going to be noticeably harder. So again, one way is not better than the other. It's just recognize that there is a subtle difference. So adjust your load appropriately.
Meet me in a dark place in the back room where the lights go off. You know what I want, and I know.
We're moving on from lower body now. We're hitting our upper body, and we're starting with the biggest muscle group first. For Marlene, in her exercise order, she has her back first and then her shoulders. But is exercise order important for muscle hypertrophy? And we've discovered that it's not. So for strength specifically, you know, it is important to place those exercises that you care about the most at the beginning of the session when you're fresh, you're not, you know, being burdened by fatigue. Whereas for hypertrophy, it is just not as important. That doesn't mean to say that if you've got muscle groups that you're trying to grow and you want to have, I guess, a better overall performance in those earlier exercises when you are less fatigued. Like for me, I want to feel good and fresh when I'm deadlifting. I don't care if I'm feeling really tired if I was doing a bicep curl. Like it's just less mentally difficult. So I will still, even though I know it's not necessarily contributing to the muscle growth, I will still put the exercises that I care about the most, that I enjoy doing at the beginning, and I'll save the ones that are less important to me to the end for the same reasons, but not necessarily because it's going to be more beneficial. Is that how you say that? Not because it's not going to be beneficial or superior. Does that make sense? So we're doing back first. I would choose to do shoulders because I'm just so excited to train my shoulders every time.
I would too. There was no bench available.
There you go. There
And that's when you have to
compromise,
know,
yes.
Exactly, compromise and be able to be flexible.
One sip I'm drinking on you for the night. Fever coming for you. You're the opposite of what
Shemo, I'm just thinking about when we did all of the filming for our videos. So for anybody that, well actually a lot of you don't know about these yet because the app hasn't come out, but we've got a temporary app that we're using for all of our challenges. If you want to get access to all of my programs, they are available. You've just got to work with us in our team challenges, our one-on-one coaching. However, the day that we were filming, I guess, all of the back exercises for body weight and then same for weighted, I think I had to do like 15 different variations of pull-ups, and we did like jump pull-ups, slow eccentric pull-ups, 1.5 pull-ups, weighted pull-ups, one arm pull-ups, like it was banded it was crazy. So I think just on that day or those days alone, I did enough movement for my entire year for my back muscles. I can tell you now, that was insane. I wouldn't do it like that again if I could do it over. I would definitely spread out how I did my pull-ups.
Cool breeze on a warm night. Fashion over with the off-white. Codeine with a bit of spray. Setting fire to the pool. Stripped down, lying on a lie low. Snake hips make you wanna ride slow. My tongue make us sing a high note. I lost my hotel keys.
Okay, that's a good weight. Yeah, that's probably like a 9.
And also mentally taxing about getting your exercises, you know, the hardest ones in first.
Yes, mentally.
Yeah.
Yes.
To me, that's why I usually work.
Yes. My summary is, just because exercise order doesn't matter for muscle growth when we look at the studies, it doesn't mean that you shouldn't prioritize the movements based on how you're going to feel when you're doing them, because no one wants to come to a deadlift as exercise number 7 and then be excited or motivated. Like, that would be horrible.
With the energy.
Yeah, energy levels, and then psychologically.
Yeah.
I still think it makes sense to program that way. Yeah.
Me too.
Marlene has actually just come up in weight by about 15 pounds from her previous load for this exercise. And I want to talk about that because she doesn't want to grow back at the moment. She just wants to maintain. So she's been doing about 4 exercises per week, 3 sets roughly. But what I was saying to her was, well, how was that? She was using 20 pounds. So was that really challenging her to the point of fatigue? She said, well, no, not really, but I was doing that intentionally because I didn't want to grow my back anymore. But what I said was, if she continued to do that same weight for, you know, the next 12 months and wasn't actually going anywhere near to failure, she said it was probably like an RPE 5. I said, you'd probably start to lose some muscle. Now, I don't have any like stats to support that, but I would have to assume that without challenging yourself, over time, it is going to amount to some depreciation of your lean tissue. So we've just decided that she's still going to keep her 4 exercises in and hit that minimum set number per muscle, the minimum set number per week per muscle group that she cares about. But we're going to perform them to or close to failure. So you don't have to worry about growing your back. Okay. You just maintain it probably on those
I'm going to try to increase to 40 next week.
Really?
I'm going to try.
Yeah.
But I think it's going to be tough to do 12 reps out of it.
Yeah, I would say stick with that and work through from 12 up to 15 before you switch.
Okay.
Yeah, otherwise it'll be a pretty big jump.
Okay, increase my reps.
Yeah.
Throughout, okay.
Yep.
That's
usually how I approach it. If I've got I work from 8 and I'll stay with that same weight until I can do about 15.
Okay.
And then I move up in weight.
Okay.
Yeah, for dumbbells, I think it's a bit more realistic.
It is. It's just, it's too much. It's a high jump.
And if you drop down, Sam, this is a really good one for you. If she drops down to like, let's say she goes up to 40s next week and she can only do 6 reps, what's that going to do?
Well, if you increase the weight too much and your repetitions drop down to a number, like the example we gave was 6 reps, or if it drops to 5 reps, in those situations I have less confidence that there's going to be a growth stimulus. It doesn't say there couldn't be. And some people it probably would be, but I would have less confidence that would be stimulating a muscle growth response.
Yeah, and I mean, thinking about the different like distinct categories, strength rep ranges 1 to 6, and then hypertrophy, you know, you're kind of looking upwards of.
Yeah, because I even think there's some researchers and papers out there that they would say if you equate for volume, those lower rep ranges would still lead to growth.
Yeah, volume equated.
And I just don't think that's true. And I don't think that even that data is not super compelling.
Yeah.
So, if I was doing a training study, we're doing a training study in my lab, but if people are consistently getting 6 reps, like at the end of the study, the likelihood of growth occurring is going to be, it'll just be less homogeneous. Some people probably grew, some people didn't, whereas if we're consistently 8 to 12, even up to 15, I have more confidence that more people will grow. So
Yeah, so you're working in that effective rep range for growth.
But what about that RPE? Because if you do,
the effort needs to be high.
but you can do an RPE doing 6 reps, right?
Yeah, but I think we're saying that there's
So,
two distinct.
To give you the extreme version, a 1 rep max is to failure, but it doesn't cause growth, right?
Not even with repetition of 1 rep.
You
rep
could,
max?
if you did a bunch of volumes of 1 rep max, I don't think that would cause growth.
Okay.
I don't know that study exists. If you did sets of 2 and it's to failure, that wouldn't cause growth. Sets of 3 probably is not going to cause growth. Sets of 4, it's still too low of a volume.
Okay.
And as you start getting higher, probably somewhere just beyond 6, it's more hypertrophic. And I wonder, I don't know, I'm just thinking out loud right now, but maybe it's because your limiting factor with those heavier loads is your connective tissue. So maybe you're fatiguing more.
Having the right stimulus for that connective tissue.
You feel
Soft
fatigue.
tissues.
Yeah. Whereas when you have a heavier weight, you feel the fatigue within your muscle, not like strain at your connective tissue or your muscle tendon junction. So I think there's something there because there's feedback from your connective tissue to your brain, right? And that's when you're doing a 1RM, even though you're strong enough to lift it, you can't lift it a bunch of times.
So
Right?
do you want to give the example? So Marlene said what if I was able to do 6 reps, but I'm going to failure?
Yeah.
Can you explain that now with the context of what you just said? You're not necessarily stimulating your muscle. What you're limited by is the soft tissues.
I think I would have to imagine there's some limitation there imposed by your soft tissue, your connective tissue.
Okay.
As opposed to if you lighten the weight, do more reps, you're more so limited by the contractile environment within the muscle fiber. So the muscle fiber itself is fatigued as opposed to the connective tissue. Because if the weight's heavy, your connective tissue is going to protect you from injury. So
Right.
sometimes you fatigue because of that reason. And if you fatigue because of that reason prior to fatiguing the fiber itself, the fiber won't have that stimulus.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
It does. It's just we have to take in consideration that we're also talking about, like the lean tissue or the, what's it called?
Connective tissue.
The connective tissue. Because if you tell me A plus B equals C, me automatically would think like, oh, well, even though it's only 6 reps, I'm still hitting my RPE of 8 or 9.
Yeah.
And it's,
So that's where the context and the variables matter.
Exactly.
So it's not just one thing, and I think people tend to get very laser focused. It's like the volume crowd right now. They're so focused on more volume is better. 1 set is better, 3 sets is better than 1 set, and 5 sets is better than 3 sets. But they're forgetting about the other variables of proximity to failure and all of the considerations. I mean, you and I were talking about some of the studies that your lab have done and just the, resistance training literature as a whole. And there are a lot of variables. As somebody that's coming from the nutrition side, or stands on exercise science, I'm thinking about all the variables that are completely uncontrolled for in their training studies from dietary means. And we know the impact that protein can have, and consistent protein can have on somebody's training outcomes. Yet in a lot of the training studies, there's really limited control beyond the protein shake that might be distributed to the athletes or the untrained athletes straight after their workout. Then everything else it's on them. And as a coach that has worked with thousands of people, I see the diversity of people's food intakes. And for people that are untrained or new to resistance training, there's no knowledge, and it's not, they don't have years of ingrained habits. So there's so many things that could also limit the resistance training outcomes that they're measuring. So I think to wrap that up, what I was going to say was context and all the variables within are important. So you were focusing on just specifically rate of perceived exertion, and you're like, yeah, I'm hitting 6 reps, but I'm going hard. But then we've got to look at the context of strength rep ranges not necessarily being the most effective way to stimulate muscles to grow. Yeah.
But this is what I read, and this is what I try to inform myself with, and then that's why I'll ask this question, because I think like you said, well, you're trying to hit this. Okay, so how do I hit it? With, you know, 6 reps. I can hit it with 6 reps. Is it optimal? Apparently not. So that's why, you know.
It'd be better than doing
Nothing.
25 reps at an upper of
Yeah.
5.
Absolutely.
True. Up next, we're doing just a run-of-the-mill shoulder flex. Nothing special here, but I did say to Marlene, we could do this either on the free bench, which you can see over to the right, so no back. But if you choose to do that, and honestly, the only reason I would choose to do that is if it's too busy and too crowded and you can't get an actual bench with a back. It will lighten your load in that because you don't have anything to stabilize and drive into, which is what the back is doing to support you, you won't be able to lift as much. It is a little bit more advanced. So if you were a beginner, I would not be having them start on a bench without a back. I don't mind doing it, but it does, you gotta like let go of your ego when you're used to lifting like 35s or 40s for your overhead press. Like I'm back down at 25s when I'm doing that because it's a lot harder. I have to stabilize a lot more because I don't have the bench. And the next thing that Marlene asked was, can you lower the seat so that the angle of the seat is flat? And I actually said, I want you to have it with a little bit of an angle because again, that is giving you some support to drive into, because now you've got something pushing you back in to the bench. Whereas if your bench is flat, you can just, if you're driving, you can literally slide off. So that angle is actually a good thing. The other one I think I want to talk to you or should suggest maybe.
Oh.
Yeah, I can do another set, but
okay.
Marlene had her feet. Is that how you were doing your press?
Like this.
So you're doing staggered stance?
Yeah.
I would say that's maybe not the most effective way to generate stability.
Okay.
So I would go feet slightly wider
Flat.
than shoulders. Yeah. But the reason that you can do that on this bench is because it's got the seat up.
Okay.
If your benches at your gym are flat, then how you were standing makes sense because you needed that extra, you needed the staggered stance for support.
I do it for support.
Yeah,
not
exactly.
Because, yeah, absolutely. Like it's automatic when I feel way more stable doing this than having both feet on the ground.
So now that she's got a chair that actually does lift up,
and
we could actually make it even higher if we wanted, but now you can take your feet side by side and you've got really good, something to ground yourself. So for your next set, I would do that.
Okay.
So yeah, you can see for that exercise, I'm really, like I could relax my lower body or I can press in. So 2 very different exercises. If I just sat here and was like, nah, versus switching on my quads,
Engaging.
bracing my core, like that's what I'm doing that whole movement. I'm not letting anything relax. So I've got the most amount of stability and therefore my shoulders will be able to do some more work, basically. All right, I'm using the wraps today. I really noticed, and I don't know, I've got to admit, my nutrition has been so crappy this year. I actually would have a hard time remembering when I ate a vegetable, or at least one that I prepared. It's been hard. But anyway, whole point of the matter was I haven't been taking fish oil, I haven't been eating like the amount of seafood that I normally do from an omega-3 perspective, and I have noticed that my joints have started to really flare up a little bit now. It could also be that I've just been inconsistent and I'm having to kind of adapt back to that training volume again. But I can feel in this exercise that my wrists and my grip are probably what's limiting. Like my shoulders, I think could do more, but I actually am getting a little bit of pain in my wrists. So I'm going to put these on for this set just so that I can push my shoulders the way that they need to be without limiting myself because of my pathetic, arthritic, osteoporosis wrists.
I want both. Don't you tell me that it's love or money. I want both. Ain't no way I let you take one from me. I want both. All the bills, all the feelings I can feel. Let them know, let them know, let them know.
This money or the love, I need both of them. In the back of the black, I need both my friends. I'm in London.
I'm probably stopping at like a 7.5 or an 8. I could do more. I know I can do more. I'm just going to leave it at that. Yeah, like all my videos, I like to show like it's got to be white knuckles, or it's not gonna. See how I can't really bend my wrist now, so it's really protecting my wrist. Probably also making them weaker. Can you give me some signs for that?
You got hand flow restrictions.
Fair call.
I want both. Ain't no way I let you take one from me. I want both. All the bills, all the feelings I can feel. Let them know, let them know, let them know. I want both. Don't you tell me that it's love or money. I want both. Ain't no way I let you take one from me. I want both. All the bills, all the feelings I can feel.
Awesome. Alrighty guys, so this is our last exercise. Thank the Lord. It's been like, we've been here for 3 hours. You've been here for like 60 minutes maybe. It's, I guess, a slow process when you're already also trying to give some education. But anyway, we're finishing off 3 final sets of this, I guess, rope crunch. This is a Cybex machine. I've never seen this before until I've been to this gym. I really like it because it's got these, like I guess, pads here to protect your shins, and ultimately you want to have some leverage pushing back into your shins to help you stabilize. Otherwise what happens is your hip flexors are doing all the work to keep you in your chair. So I really like this machine for that reason, but we do have to limit that range of motion so that we're just keeping the work to the core. Otherwise you end up working your lower back and you're hyperextending. So when Miles crunches down, you can start your set. First rep's always the hardest.
Yeah.
She's only going to come back up halfway. Yep, just to there. And she's exhaling on the crunch. Yeah. And she's got tension here. Her core's on, and that is doing most of the work. And the wraps are going to support her in that her fingers aren't having to hold on to that uncomfortable rope, and instead she can really load up her core a little bit more. And I think she can probably go up to the 100 for the next set. Here we go, keep going. Squeeze. That weight is a little bit too light. At least I probably could have done another 10 more reps before I actually fatigued my core. Marlene was saying the same. So you need to make sure that the load is heavy enough. I mean, otherwise we could do it this way and do 30 reps, and I'm happy with that. It's just, is that the most efficient way to get your abs done? From a time perspective, I'm obviously really conscientious of people's time in the gym, and if you've got a limited 45 minutes, then doing sets of 30 before you can get to fatigue is not an efficient use of your time. So I'm gonna load up a bit heavier on my next set, and I'm gonna use the wraps, as will Marlene, so that we can get these working, not your fingers.
Just like the white wind dove, sing the song, sound like she's singing. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Just like the white wind dove.
That is our 3-hour long workout. Hopefully your 60-minute workout. Miles, how are you feeling? How did you enjoy our session today?
I loved it. I learned so many things. I think I pushed myself more than what I usually do, doing it by myself, which I think is extremely important. Absolutely, because, you know, that way, you know, we get more knowledge into how we do our workouts by ourselves.
Yeah, I mean, I'm the first person to say, if I had the option of having a training partner or somebody to just stay accountable to and push me, I would have it. But I think I've moved around so much, and you're also kind of down where you are, kind of alone as well. It's not like you've got anyone to just come and train with you. So
No.
I would say that is a disadvantage. If you are somebody that has a girlfriend that could be training with you, get a training buddy. Like it's supportive, it keeps you accountable. And I think, as we just discovered today, even I pushed myself a little bit harder. If I was on my own today, at least on our hip thrusts, I might have just put the 2 plates on in the 25s. I'm like, you know what? I just made Marlene go up, I'll go up. So, you know,
Yeah.
you're not gonna like throw it all on somebody and not also push yourself as well. So, yeah, I hope that you guys enjoyed this session. I hope that you've learned something. It sounds like you did, which is excellent. And I mean, I've been working with Marlene for a long time. Granted, I don't do Marlene's programming. So my coaching does the nutrition. We kind of look at things as an overview. Like I'm tracking her calories very meticulously for everything she does. Her energy expenditure for workouts, for your HIIT, your lifts, everything. Right down to even her resistance training sessions. We're looking at her volume, we're looking at every session's calories, and we're doing that to like compare 1 week to the next,
Right.
just to see whether or not throughout her fat loss phase she was maintaining a consistent energy expenditure. And we noticed a lot of changes, didn't we?
We did,
it was
absolutely.
interesting to see some weeks you had a big drop off and you were like, oh my God, I didn't burn anywhere near the same amount of calories. So yeah, I think it's been really valuable for me today to actually get in the gym and train with you, because from what I can see, there are some little tweaks, nothing major today. Like the exercise selection that you've been doing, the like exercise specificity was what I mean by that.
Yeah.
The set number, most of those things are pretty good. The training frequency, all that's great. But I'm really happy that I got to see your training intensity.
Absolutely.
And how you've been approaching week 1 through to week 6 of a training block, because now I can say to you more confidently, don't sell yourself short on weeks 1, 2, or 3 in anticipation of you, oh my God, what does that mean for week 6?
Yeah.
Start with the heaviest that you possibly can at week 1, and if you can't progress, it's okay, but that means a greater percentage of your overall 6-week training block, you're going to have more, like, greater intensity, and that's what you needed. So I'm so happy that we got to train.
Me too, absolutely.
And now we get to go eat.
Yay!
What
What
are we making for breakfast?
Whatever you want. But yeah, for us general population that we just get information from people like Holly, we need more accuracy on how to do things, and that accountability, you know, it's always better to have it with someone else and someone guiding you through the process.
So guys, that's all from us today. We're gonna get out of here. We need to eat some food. We are ravenous. It's been that long. I'm sure everybody that's been in the gym with us is probably like, can we eat now? If you guys want more information about anything that we've talked about today, honestly, the best place that you can get that is heading over and grabbing our resources. My brand new book, The Complete Exercise Guide to Muscle Hypertrophy. It's available. It's on my website. I'm gonna drop all those links in the description right below so that you can learn, I guess, evidence-based information, because there's a lot of BS out there. Until next week, we'll see you then. Thanks for watching. Bye.